This force wipe, Base Bunch have made a change to building, inadvertently affecting the way offset bunkers work. In this video, I'll be showing a new way to build them, and how to adapt some of my base designs. Oh, and before you ask, there's no change to chain link fences, although in the future it might be possible to hit players through double chain link, but not yet, and your turrets are safe for now. They're still protected and shoot players through double chain link. Now back to business. First I'm going to show you the most reliable way that I've found to build an offset bunker. This is the one that opens with a roof, as seen in the Cobra and Viper 2x1s and the King Cobra 2x2. So start off with your standard 2x1 or 2x2 core with the triangle airlock. And of course, don't forget to build these parts before the bunker, or it will mess with the stability. So from the front of the base, you need to build up by a triangle, a square, and 11 triangles, and one more square. Then remove all the twig apart from the last square, and build back towards the base with 5 squares. Now we need to place a triangle in this gap. To get it to attach correctly, turn left and place it. You'll need to have the stone texture in the left hand corner. Upgrade it, and then we need to offset the honeycomb too, so place squares on either side. For this one, turn away from the base, making sure the stone texture is on the left before upgrading it, and do the same with this one. For triangles, always make sure the stone textures are on the left. We have to offset the honeycomb, as because of the new update, some walls and foundations could be unplaceable later. At the moment, your build up would look like this. Now you want to remove all the twig apart from these 2 squares. Then build up from this square by 9 triangles and one more square. Now remove all the build up apart from the last square, and build back towards the base with 4 more squares. Then remove these squares, leaving the last one closer to the base. Now we need to repeat this part again with 9 triangles out and another square. Remove all that build up apart from the last square. Build back towards the base again with 4 more squares. At this point you need to look down to make sure the square attaches correctly. So before upgrading it, make sure it has the stone texture at the end. Now we can build 2 half walls here. And put the triangle ceiling on top. To make sure that it attached to the 2 half walls, check that it has the stone texture in the left hand side. Now the triangle for the bunker should be placeable. Every time you seal it, make sure that the stability is at 10%. And check that it's all working by placing a roof here. Next we're going to look at a hexagon footprint as shown in the Spinneret. This is a different type of offset bunker known as a god bunker. It's the same idea, but instead the bunker floor is held up by a door frame instead. This one can be added to almost any footprint that has 3 triangles in a row, so if you want help with that, join my Discord. As in the Spinneret video, you can use these 3 triangles for your starter, and make sure you have all these parts placed here before moving on to the bunker. Now same with the 2x1, you need to build up by a triangle, a square, 11 triangles, and a square at the end. Then remove all the build out except for the last square, and build back towards the base with 5 squares. And put a square either side so we can offset the honeycomb. To attach this triangle correctly, look down and around to the left. Before upgrading it, make sure you have this stone patch in the left hand side. And do the same again with the honeycomb here. For this piece of honeycomb, you need to look down and to the right, away from the base. Again, checking for the stone patch in the left. As mentioned before, we need to do this, otherwise some walls and foundations won't be placeable later. Now from this point, you need to remove all the foundations apart from these 2 twig squares. Now build out again from this square by 9 triangles, putting a square on the end. Then remove all the build out apart from the last square, then build back towards the base with 4 more squares. Remove these twig pieces, leaving the last square, and repeat the step again by building up by 9 triangles and another square. Again, remove all the build out apart from the last square, then build back towards the base with 4 more squares. Now look down to make sure this final square attaches correctly. Make sure it has the stone patch at the front. Then place a full wall here, and remove this build out apart from the square you're standing on. To swap this square for a triangle, build out by 3 triangles, remove these pieces, build forwards by 1 square, and then 2 triangles, turning away from the base to make sure it attaches correctly and it has a stone patch on the left. This last triangle is attached to the 3rd offset, so we won't get any too close to another building errors. After that, attach a triangle to the full wall like this, and and before you upgrade it, make sure it has a stone patch in the left hand side. Drop down inside the base and purposely attach this triangle to the one in front of you. The stability should be at 11%. Now the bunker seal will be placeable, but first we need to add a single door frame from this angle. This will give extra stability to this triangle so you can seal the bunker. Don't use a double door frame as this pokes through the wall and can be shot from outside the base. I'll make sure the bunker triangle never goes above 11%. Next we're going to look at the samurai footprint. As it offsets with a square, this is possibly the most difficult one to do. So as per the original video, make sure you're at this stage before building the bunker. And you have these frames and this wall placed first. Start off and build up by 2 squares, 11 triangles and 1 more square. Then remove all the build out apart from the final square placed, and build back towards the base with 5 more squares. To add this final square, look down to make sure it places correctly. Check that you have this stone patch at the end before upgrading it. You also need to offset this piece of honeycomb to stop any building errors later. So place 1 twig triangle, and with this one, look away from the base, making sure you have the stone texture in the left hand side. Then upgrade it. From this point, you want to remove all the build out apart from these 2 squares. Then build out from this square by 9 triangles and 1 more square. Now remove all the build up apart from the final square, and build back towards the base with 4 more squares. To prevent the too close to another building error, we need to offset 1 more piece of honeycomb, which has to be done with the second offset as we're doing now. For the final triangle, look away from the base, making sure you have the stone texture on the left hand side before upgrading. Now you can remove all these twig pieces apart from the square closest to the base, build out by another 9 triangles and a square, remove all the build out apart from the final square, then build back towards the base with 4 more squares. As before, look down to make sure that this final square is placed correctly. Check that it has the stone patch at the front, then build a wall here. Remove all these twig pieces apart from the square that you're standing on, and we need to swap this square for a triangle, making sure that it attaches to the final offset that we just built. So after building 3 triangles, build a square and 2 more triangles, turning away from the base to make sure the last one attaches correctly with the stone patch on the left. Now we're going to place a square ceiling, like this. Go on top of the base and make sure that it's at 22%. Next, drop down the side of the base and purposely attach this triangle to the square. It should be at 8%. Now the bunker floor should be placeable, but to give it more stability, you need to add a door frame here. The stability should be at 11%. To open the bunker, just remove the door frame. And lastly, we're going to look at the Humbug. This can be applied to any egg core footprint, so feel free to add it to your design. As per the original Humbug video, make sure you're at this point of the build, and you have all these frames and walls placed beforehand. Start off by placing 2 squares, going out 11 triangles and 1 more square. Then remove the build out apart from the final square placed, and build back towards the base with 5 squares. Now to place this final square, look down to make sure it attaches correctly. Check that you have this stone patch at the end, then upgrade it. We also need to offset some honeycomb, so build out on each side with a Pac-Man like so, upgrading the last triangle. We must do it this way to make sure it doesn't interfere with the rest of the bunker build. At this point, you can remove all the twig foundations apart from these 2 squares. Then build out from the second square by 9 triangles and 1 more square. Then remove the build out apart from the final square placed, and build back towards the base with 4 more squares. Remove these 4 squares, leaving the last one closest to the base. Then repeat this step again by building out by 9 more triangles and a square. Remove all this build out apart from the final square, and then build back in with 4 more squares. Again, make sure that this square places correctly by looking down. Make sure that you have the stone patch at the front. Then place this wall and upgrade it. Now you can remove all these twig pieces apart from the square that you're standing on. To change it for a triangle, build up by 3 triangles, remove these 2 and the square, then build a square and 2 triangles. Turn away from the base to make sure the last one places correctly with the stone patch on the left. We must do this to make sure that the honeycomb is attached to the third build out. Now we can place these honeycomb pieces by looking away from the base, with the stone patch on the left. So these triangles here are attached to the first build out, and the one in the middle is attached to the third. We do this to make sure that you can place the square honeycomb later, otherwise you'll get too close to another building areas. Check that these squares are placeable, and stand here to place a square ceiling. Make sure that it's about 22%, sometimes it might be about 28%, but this bunker will still work. Then drop down inside of the bunker and purposely place a triangle attaching to the square. It should be about 8% stable. Now the bunker seal will turn blue, but before you do that, place this door frame to give it more stability. Every time you seal the bunker, make sure that it never goes up above 11%, and remove the door frame to reopen it. Now I'll show you that the pixel gap on the other side of the base still works. Just make sure that the stone patch on these triangles is on the left when you place them. Now you're going to watch me build the Humbug bunker in real time. This will show how quickly you can do it on a live server with a little bit of practice. So don't be lazy, get on a build server now and try it out. The faster and more efficiently you do it, the less chance you have of getting shot. No, this isn't sped up, I just have a lot of time in build servers. You can see that I don't even check the stone texture. I know that I've placed that square right. I'm so fast the server's lagging, it can't even keep up. Or if you're confused about offsetting the honeycomb, for a basic rule, the honeycomb immediately to the left and the right of the bunker needs to be built off of the first build out. And the last piece of honeycomb in front of the bunker wall needs to be built off the third build out. This will help prevent any too close to another building areas, and enable you to expand the base and build your wide gap and externals etc. easily. So just to make it absolutely clear, the build out method for most footprints is 11 triangles, then build back towards the base, place your center foundation and immediate honeycomb to the left and right, then build out by 9 triangles twice, place the bunker wall, and then change the center honeycomb foundation for a triangle by using the foundations from the third build out. Oh, and you're probably also wondering how much does this all cost? This will partially depend on the footprint that you're building, but it's no more than 2,500 wood, which isn't that much in my opinion. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Are these bunkers still worth it? To be honest, the extra steps needed in building makes me not want to do another tutorial on them. Even with the original method, I saw a lot of people struggle to understand how they really worked. So I guess let's hope this video fixes that. So on that note, if you're having any problems with the new methods that I've showed here, feel free to join my Discord in the description where I'll gladly help you out. So as you can see, it's taken me less than 2 minutes and all the build outs are finished. I challenge you to beat my time. See you in the next build video. Cheers.